doesn't like it when you say his name.
That's what the voice said, cracking through static, buried under snow and rust. And then nothing. Just silence. Thick, heavy silence, like a blanket soaked in cold water. 48 hours earlier. You ever have that feeling when the air goes still? I mean real still, like even the storm holds its breath. They call me Ridgewalker. Been on the road 23 years, 2 wars before that, and 5 states I'd rather not return to. I don't scare easy, but that night, that road, there's something about it I still can't explain. And maybe that's the only reason I'm still here to tell it. It started like any other job. Cold night, iced windshield, coffee already bitter by the second sip. I just fueled up at a station near Wenatchee, Cascade foothills eastern side. The kind of place with flickering fluorescent lights, beef jerky that tastes like pencil shavings, and a cashier who doesn't say more than she has to. I got the ping from the app. Private logistics platform, mostly off-the-books runs. Nothing illegal, just quiet work. You know the kind. They wanted me to haul a sealed container up through the mountains, down to a settlement on the far side. Time sensitive, the note said. No details on contents, no sender, no name on the manifest, just coordinates, a dot on the map. Money was good, too good. I tapped accept. The GPS loaded instantly, but it didn't take me west like I expected. Instead, it pulled me onto an old service road, curling north into the woods like a snake disappearing into the snow. No name, no exit sign, just a gravel stretch on the edge of the main highway. I paused, checked my backup tablet, then my paper atlas. Nothing. That road wasn't marked anywhere. And yet, the GPS arrow pulsed, clear as day, leading right in. I hesitated, but the job was timed, and night was already coming in fast. Long fingers of dusk curling over the peaks. Snowflakes like ash in the wind. So I eased the rig forward and turned off the map. The asphalt ended after 200 feet. From there it was all packed snow and rutted ice, edges disappearing into dark pines. I dropped to second gear and kept it slow. Real slow. Just the crunch of tires and the soft hum of diesel. At first it felt normal. I mean back road normal. Pines leaning over like they were gossiping, headlights catching branches like bones. My hands were steady on the wheel. Decades of muscle memory. But then, the radio hissed. I hadn't touched it. A voice crackled in, faint, muffled, like it was drowning.
He doesn't like...
Then static, just static. I blinked, turned the knob back and forth. Nothing but snow and garble. CB was dead too. Channel after channel, just silence or faint echo. Weird, but not unheard of. Mountains play tricks. Echoes, dead zones, refractions. I'd seen it all. Dismissed it. Kept driving. Then, first time I saw it, the flash in the mirror. Just a flicker, like someone standing behind the rig for a split second, lit up in the taillights, then gone. I looked over my shoulder. Nothing. Nothing but snow and trees and the soft spin of flakes in the wind. I pulled the mirror down, wiped it with my sleeve. Frost. Maybe just a reflection of the trees. Headlights bouncing wrong. I'd been on the road 30 hours with a 4-hour nap somewhere in Montana. It happens, but something didn't feel right. You know that feeling? When your skin tightens around your shoulders, like your body knows something before your brain does? That. I reached for my thermos. Hands were colder than they should have been. The road narrowed, a corridor between trees. Pines so close they brushed the sides of the cab. The sky above had turned the color of bruised iron. Visibility dropped. The snow got thicker. That's when I noticed the smell. Diesel, but not fresh. Old, stale, like something had been leaking for weeks. I slowed down, peering ahead, and saw it. A truck, abandoned, sunk half into a snowbank. Its trailer was twisted at an angle, like it had jackknifed and no one ever came to help. Paint peeled. Windshield cracked. No lights, no blinkers, nothing. I stopped beside it, shifted to neutral, took a breath. There was no sign of life, no tracks in the snow, no steam, just stillness. I don't know why, maybe instinct, but I climbed out, left the engine running, stepped down into ankle-deep snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Each step louder than it should be. The air was thick with cold. No birds, no wind. Even my breath felt muffled. I opened the driver's door. The cab was empty, except the radio was on. Old unit, dusty. One of those CBs from the 70s, scratched and dented. And from it, repeating again and again, that same phrase.
He doesn't like it when you look in mirrors.
Over and over. Same cadence, same pauses, like a loop. I leaned in, listened closer. He doesn't like it when you look in mirrors. I stepped back, quickly, got in my own rig, locked the doors without thinking. I stared at the windshield for a long minute. Snow was piling fast now, covering the hood like a sheet. I told myself it was just some glitch, a feedback loop from a broken unit, maybe a prank, maybe a warning from some trucker who'd had a bad trip through this pass. Maybe, but when I looked up and the mirror had fogged again, and just before I wiped it clear, I thought I saw someone staring back at me, not someone behind the truck. No, someone inside the mirror. I didn't sleep after that. Didn't blink for longer than I had to. I just kept driving. Slow, deliberate. Both hands gripping the wheel like it was the last solid thing left in the world. Snow was coming down harder now. Not in flakes, but in sheets. The kind that bury roads, thoughts, time. The abandoned rig faded into the rear view. I didn't look back. I couldn't. But I felt it. That pull, that pressure, like gravity, but sideways. The CB was dead. Same with the FM. My phone had no bars, just a blinking red X where the signal should have been. And still, the GPS dot pulsed on the dash, unwavering, dragging me forward into the dark. Time got strange after that. Not broken, just smeared. I'd glance at the clock and it would say 3:12 a.m. I'd drive for what felt like 20 minutes, look again, still 3:12 a.m. Then 30 seconds later, 4:46. I stopped trusting the numbers. The forest outside changed too. Trees taller, closer, thicker than they were a mile back. I'd been through Cascade logging country before. These trees weren't cut. They weren't planted either. They were just there, ancient, crooked, like they'd never moved, just watched. Then the sound stopped. Not the engine. That low diesel hum still rumbled beneath me, but everything else. No wind, no snow against the windshield, no rattle, no suspension creaks, nothing. Just the sound of me breathing. And even that felt quiet. You ever been in a place so silent it feels like it's listening? That. I tried the radio again, switched frequencies, pressed the transmit. Breaker 19, this is Ridgewalker. Anyone got ears on? Nothing. Not even static. Just dead air. A click, soft, then again. Click, click. It wasn't a sound I'd heard before. Not mechanical, not electronic. It sounded wet, like a tongue flicking the roof of a mouth. I turned the radio off. Didn't make a difference, because the sound kept going. Click, click. Not loud, just close. I pulled the mic cord out of the socket, tossed the whole unit on the floor. Still there. Click. I glanced in the mirror. Forgot, just for a second. Instinct. Nothing. Fog. Then, a shape. For a breath, it looked like a deer. Antlers, maybe. Tall, thin, but the legs were wrong. Jointed backward. And it stood too straight. And it wasn't there in the road. Only in the mirror. I looked back. Through the window. Nothing there. I looked at the mirror again. Gone. I covered it with my cap. Then I kept going. The GPS said I had 32 miles left. Then it glitched, flashed white, then said 41, then 27, then just froze. I kept going anyway. Somewhere around the next bend, I saw tire tracks in the snow. Fresh. Too fresh. They turned off the road into the trees, cut into a barely visible path, like an old forest access lane. I didn't remember seeing a fork. I don't remember turning the wheel. But somehow I was on that path. Snow deeper here, pines closer. My headlights could barely push 20 feet ahead. And up ahead, a shape, another truck, old one, half buried under snow, cab crushed in like something had stepped on it. I stopped 20 feet back, lights off, engine idling. I stared. Then I saw movement inside, a flicker behind the cracked windshield, like a hand, slow, reaching. I didn't want to look, didn't want to breathe, but I leaned forward, squinting through the snow. Then the lights blinked, the other truck's lights. They turned on, headlights full blast. Right into my eyes, I recoiled. Instinct. Threw the rig into reverse, tires spinning, snow flying. And just before I backed away, I saw it, in the cab of that old truck, where no one should have been. A face, not just pale, colorless, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth, like wax. It tilted its head, like it was listening, then smiled, not with a mouth, with its skin. I slammed the accelerator, backed up until I hit something, a drift maybe, or a stump. Didn't care. Spun the rig around, ripped back onto the main road. Didn't stop for miles. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Eventually, I looked down at the dash. GPS was gone, screen black. But still, the engine kept running. The wheels kept turning. And I kept moving forward because there was nowhere left to go back to. I don't know how long I drove after that. Maybe an hour, maybe 10 minutes. Time felt like it was swimming, thick and slow, like oil in my veins. The storm hadn't let up. If anything, it had doubled down. Snow tore sideways across the windshield, scratching at the glass like it was angry I hadn't stopped. And I wasn't stopping. Not anymore. The CB radio on the floor let out one soft pop. I didn't look at it. I wasn't going to let that thing talk to me again. Not in my voice, not in anyone else's. I kept both hands on the wheel, eyes forward, muscles tight. That's when the mirrors started fogging, from the inside. First the passenger side, then the center. A thin haze like breath, crawling slowly across the glass. I cranked the heat, wiped it with my sleeve, but it came right back. Thicker this time, like something was breathing back at me. And then, the shape returned. Just a blur at first, a smudge of motion. In the passenger mirror, right at the edge of the frame, something stood between the trees. I couldn't see it clearly, just height, posture, stillness. It didn't move, unless I looked away. I blinked, glanced down at the road for a split second. When I looked back, it had shifted, closer, just by inches. I gritted my teeth, turned off the defrost, pulled my knit cap from the passenger seat and threw it over the mirror. Did the same for the driver's side, then the center. Now I was driving blind to anything behind me. I didn't care. Whatever was back there, it didn't want to be seen, and I wasn't about to challenge that request. But the feeling, it stayed, like pressure on my neck, like someone just behind me, lips an inch from my ear, breathing without sound. I tried to hum, to distract myself. Old army tune. Didn't help. My voice cracked. My throat felt dry, like dust. I went to take a sip from my thermos and stopped because something was off about the cab. Something was wrong. The reflection. In the black glass of the GPS, now dead, screen blank, I saw myself, but I wasn't blinking. I wasn't blinking. The man in the reflection just stared forward. No breath fog, no movement, same clothes, same jawline, but his lips were curled, just slightly, like he knew something I didn't. I reached down slowly and shut the GPS lid. Didn't look again, didn't want to. And then the voice came back, not from the radio this time, from under the seat. It sounded like me, like my voice, only off by a second. Like someone had recorded everything I'd ever said and was replaying it back. Just wrong. I don't scare easy, but that night, that road, there's something about it. A breath, then silence. I reached under the seat. Fingers found nothing but road trash. Crumpled receipts, a crushed water bottle, some loose change. But the voice, still there. Breaker 19, this is Ridgewalker. Anyone got ears on? Got ears on? Got ears on? Got... I slammed my fist against the dash. Shut up! Everything stopped. For a moment I thought maybe I'd broken through something, pushed it back. Then the mirrors fogged again. All three. Only this time. The fog wasn't on the inside. It was on the other side of the glass, as if the cab had grown cold on the outside, but something warmer was pressed against it, leaving a mark. I stared at the center mirror, slowly, carefully, reached up and pulled the cloth away. And there, written in the fog, backwards, but clear as a knife, "Look again." I dropped the cloth, slapped it back over the mirror. My heartbeat was a hammer now, palms slick, breath shallow. I gripped the wheel with both hands, pressed down on the accelerator. Not fast, but firm. No more hesitation, no more detours, just forward, always forward. The road curved left, then right, then again, the same curve. I started seeing familiar shapes in the snow. A leaning pine, a broken sign, a tree stump like a chair. Had I passed this already? My jaw clenched. I pulled a sticky note from the dashboard, wrote down the time, then scribbled a word. Real. Just to remind myself. I stuck it to the dash, right next to a sticker I didn't remember putting there. A name. Rebecca. I blinked. That was my wife's name, right? No. Wait, was it Rachel? No. Rebecca. Definitely. Probably. I closed my eyes for a second. Just one. Just enough to think. But in the darkness behind my eyelids, I saw it. The face. White, smooth, no mouth. but smiling all the same. I opened my eyes again, gasped. My hand was on the CB mic. I don't remember picking it up. I dropped it, hard, let it bounce to the floor, and from the speaker came my voice, but not the words I'd said. Not yet anyway, just a whisper, a promise.
I'm still behind you, Ridgewalker.
A pause.
Don't blink.
I thought I could outdrive it, whatever it was, this thing following me, watching me, mimicking me. I figured if I just kept moving, if I didn't stop, didn't look, didn't listen, I could outrun it. I was wrong. Somewhere around what felt like the fourth or fifth curve through the woods, I realized I'd already been there. Not just once, not twice. I'd been looping the same half-mile stretch of snow-covered forest for, I don't know how long. Same slope of the hill on the right, same dip in the road where the snowbank looked like a sleeping animal. Same bent pine tree just off the shoulder, its trunk split at the base like a broken wishbone. It didn't make sense. I hadn't turned around, hadn't touched the wheel except to follow the road. But I kept ending up in the same place. Over and over, I slowed the rig to a crawl, dropped into low gear, let the engine idle as I scanned the woods, looking for any break, any path, any difference. Nothing. I pulled out my notebook, flipped past old shipping notes and fuel logs until I found a blank page. Wrote one word across the top in all caps. Loop, then underlined it twice. I marked the time. 4:41 a.m. Made a note of the GPS coordinates, or what used to be coordinates before the screen froze. I marked the same bent pine tree with a BPT, drove on. 5 minutes later, there it was again. BPT, same angle, same break. I marked it, 4:47 a.m., then 4:52, then 5:06. Always the same spot, always the same bend. I even tried turning off the headlights once, thinking maybe I was following my own tracks. Didn't help. The tracks vanished behind me like the snow was erasing them. I started counting seconds between turns. 16 seconds from the stump to the tree, 9 seconds from the turn to the little dip in the shoulder. 34 seconds total before the rig hit the same loop again. I began whispering numbers under my breath just to hold on to something real. 16, 9, 34. Again, again, again. Then something changed. It wasn't much, just a smell. Sweet, coppery, not diesel, not oil. Something wrong. Something that didn't belong in a truck cab. I glanced at my thermos, sealed. The vents, nothing. But the smell got stronger with each pass, like blood warmed by the heater. And that's when I noticed the sticky notes. I didn't remember writing so many. Dozens now, plastered around the dashboard, the windshield, the glove box. Remember your name. Do not look back. Don't trust the mirror. Your name is Michael Ridgewalker. I didn't write that, did I? Did I? I stared at the note with my name, my full name, Michael Ridgewalker. It sounded right. It felt close, but not mine, not entirely. I ran my fingers through my beard, trying to focus, trying to stay here, in the now. Then I saw it, just for a blink. A face in the side mirror, my face. But the mouth moved before the eyes did, like it wasn't synced, like it was a puppet of me lagging behind. I ripped the cloth off the mirror and slammed it backward. Crack. It shattered into a web of cracks and fog, and through the spidered glass, the woods behind me rippled, just slightly, like heat off asphalt, like the air was folding in on itself. And then, nothing. but the face was gone. Or maybe it never was. I kept going, kept looping. I tried turning around once, found a wide enough shoulder to make a dangerous U-turn, pulled it hard and tight, tires spinning in the ice, headed back the way I came. Didn't help. Same curve, same pine, same loop. But now, the sun was rising. At least I thought it was. A soft red glow filtered through the trees, but it didn't look like sunrise. It looked wrong. Too red. Too low. Too still. I turned on the dome light, looked down at my notebook. A new note was there, in my handwriting. I know my own handwriting. It read, "Don't forget her again." No name, just her. I swallowed hard. Something clenched in my chest. There was a woman, wasn't there? Not in the past, not in the war, but here, now. Her voice. I could almost hear it. "Michael, you promised me you wouldn't go back into the mountains." Michael, that was me. That is me. I think. I started writing again, every few seconds, every loop, details, dates, my birthday, my army serial number, the name of my first dog, my favorite food, anything to stay. I taped a note above the dash, big letters, black ink. "You are real," and then another. "You are not him." I didn't know what that meant, but I wrote it anyway, because somewhere in my gut, I felt it coming. Whatever he was getting closer. The snow had turned heavy, not soft and dry, but wet, slushy, and mean. The kind that builds up fast on the windshield and turns the road into soup. I couldn't see more than 20 feet ahead anymore, and even that was just a blur of white and shadow. I'd turned off the GPS hours ago. Not that it mattered. The screen had gone black and never woke back up. I'd covered the remaining mirrors with duct tape and paper, but I could still feel it. That pressure, like a second set of eyes inside the cab, like something riding shotgun just outside my vision. I hadn't seen the curve. Not really. I remember the tires slipping, the trailer swinging wide, and then just nothing but motion, a slow slide, heavy, helpless. Like gravity itself had leaned a little too far to the left. The rear end of the truck jackknifed and pulled me sideways. The cab dipped hard, hit something soft, then stopped. Not with a crash, but like we'd been caught. Like the mountain reached up and held us in place. My shoulder slammed into the door. Everything inside the cab jumped. Notebooks, loose paper, the thermos, but nothing shattered. It was too quiet for that. When it settled, I realized the trailer was tilted, half off the narrow trail, back end hanging like a dead limb over a ditch. I tapped the pedal. Nothing. Spun the wheel. We weren't going anywhere. I was stuck. And not just stuck in snow, buried, tires deep, maybe into frozen mud or worse. I killed the engine. Didn't want to risk burning out the fuel. If this took hours or days, I'd need every drop. The silence came crawling back. I tried the radio. Again. Dead. No static, no power hum, just empty. I opened the door. The cold slapped me in the face like a wet hand. Snowflakes whipped sideways, stinging my cheeks. The wind had changed, no longer random, but rhythmic, like it was breathing. I stepped down into it, boots crunching into hard crust. I scanned the tree line. Nothing, just pines, thick and old, hunched like tired men. No phone signal, no tools to dig out, no winch, no rope. And no one on earth knew I was up here except some nameless dispatcher on a shadowy delivery app who hadn't said a word since the job started. Then I saw it, off to the right, barely visible through the snow. A structure, maybe 50 yards out. Wooden, tilted, half sunk in snowdrift. A cabin? I narrowed my eyes. No chimney, no smoke, no lights. But it was something, somewhere to shelter, maybe even supplies, or at the very least, a roof and 4 walls to keep the dark out. I grabbed my coat from the passenger seat, pulled on my gloves, and slammed the door behind me. Snow had already started creeping over the boots. Each step forward felt like walking through wet cement. The snow came up past my calves, and every movement was a fight. The wind shrieked, tore at my coat, grabbed at my hood like it wanted to pull me back toward the truck. But I kept walking. One step, another. Don't look behind you. The cabin grew clearer the closer I got, or maybe it just became more real. It was old. Splintered wood, shingles missing, one corner sagging where the snow had eaten through the roof. A sign hung loosely from rusted nails beside the door. U.S. Forest Service. Station SH4, that name. SH4. Why did that sound familiar? I reached for the handle. The door creaked open before I touched it. Inside, dry air, dust. Cold but sheltered from the wind. I stepped in, pulled the door closed behind me. It was darker than I expected. Just gray light bleeding in through warped window panes and gaps in the roof. The place looked abandoned for decades. Rusty cot in one corner, rotting shelves, a desk partially collapsed, and on top of it, a box. I approached slowly, boots echoing on cracked floorboards. Inside the box, folders, water damaged, moldy in places. Some were labeled, others were just numbers. And then, a notebook, spiral bound, faded cover, but intact. I picked it up, wiped the dust away. First page, a name. Field Officer James Weatherly, SH4. Observation log dates ran from 1972 through 1974. I sat on the edge of the desk, flipped through. Entries started normal. Weather reports, animal sightings, standard forestry stuff. But then, something shifted. April 8th, 1973. Heard something last night. Not a bear, not elk. No sound I've ever heard before. Like wind through bone. April 22nd. Mirror cracked this morning. No impact, just split. Felt cold. Too cold. May 1st. Saw myself in the window, but I was outside. May 15th. Can't say its name. Can't think its name. It listens. Through glass. Through sound. Every time I speak, it learns. June 3rd. Don't mirror it. Don't echo it. Don't name it. June 7th. Burned all reflective surfaces, but I still hear it, breathing behind me. The final entry was short, one line. SH4 must be sealed. No more riders, no more primes. Riders, primes. I didn't know what that meant, but it felt close, too close. I closed the book. My hands were shaking. I stood, scanned the rest of the room. There were papers everywhere, nailed to the walls, stuck between boards, scattered on the floor like confetti. Drawings, mostly, of faces, blank, pale, hollow, some scribbled over, some circled. One of them looked like me, not just kind of. Not abstract, me. Same eyes, same shape of the jaw, same scar above the eyebrow from when I fell off a truck back in '09. I stepped back, hit the desk with my hip. A drawer popped open. Inside, a folded piece of cloth. I picked it up, unwrapped it, a small, shattered hand mirror, and underneath it, a tag. Ridgewalker, printed in faded military type. I dropped it, stumbled backward, hands to my face. That's when I realized I hadn't said my own name aloud in hours, And now I wasn't sure if I still remembered how. I stood there frozen, not from the cold, not anymore, but from something deeper, something ancient and sour leaking into my bones. That tag, Ridgewalker, not handwritten, not guessed, not close enough. It was printed, precise, as if whoever had made it had known exactly who I was, long before I ever arrived here. I knelt down, hands shaking, picked up the cloth again. The mirror was cracked, a spiderweb of fractures through dull, fogged glass. I turned it over. Nothing special, just old standard issue. But the weight of it felt wrong, heavier than it should have been, like it had absorbed something it wasn't supposed to. The tag wasn't attached to the mirror. It had been placed there, tucked under it carefully, like a message left for someone specific. For me. There was a humming now, low and steady, not mechanical, not like a fridge or a generator, but organic, like breath behind drywall. It wasn't coming from the room, it was coming from the mirror. I wrapped it back up in the cloth, placed it in the drawer, and closed it slowly. Then I reached for the field log again. I had to know. Something was happening here, not just to me, but to others. Whoever this James Weatherly was, he'd seen it too. Maybe even faced it. Maybe not alone. I turned to the middle of the notebook. There were sketches now, not just faces, but patterns, rings, reflections of symbols inside symbols. He'd drawn one again and again, a broken circle with a mirrored arc across the top. Below it, a note, symbol of the watcher. If you see it, don't repeat it, don't trace it, don't even look too long. I flipped the page. Another entry, dated June 18th, 1973. The entity is not visible in direct light, only reflected, appears through mirrors, water, chrome, glass, even polished stone. It cannot form a stable body. It mimics, it builds faces from memory, voices from residue, but only if you give it attention. Attention is food, reflection is doorway, speech is invitation. I swallowed hard. My voice had cracked just reading the words silently. Another page, pinned to the notebook with a rusted paperclip. A list of rules underlined twice. 1, don't say its name. 2, don't mirror it. 3, don't echo it. 4, if you hear yourself speaking and you're not speaking, stop listening. 5, if you forget who you are, write it down before it takes your hands. I touched the scar above my eyebrow again. Still there, still me. But something was wearing me from the outside in. I felt it, crawling along the edge of my memory like mold creeping over old wood. Not fast, but certain. I turned the page again. There was a map, rough, hand-drawn. The trail through the forest, sharp curves, landmarks. I recognized a few. The bent pine, the slope, the ditch. At the edge of the map, marked in red, Splice Point, Convergence. Near it, circled 3 times. Ridgewalker below it, scrawled in different handwriting, prime active, do not engage. Do not engage, I flipped back. There were more names now, on a separate page, different call signs, shadow talk, black X through it. Flatline, circled, then scribbled over. Ridgewalker, underlined, no markings, and one more. Half erased, hollow echo. Next to each name, dates, and then the word vanished. I stepped away from the desk. I couldn't take in any more without losing something in return. There was a cracked mirror on the wall, a panel of what used to be a first aid cabinet. I didn't look into it. I tilted my head, stayed below the angle, reached up with my gloved hand and slammed the cabinet shut. Even the idea of seeing myself felt poisonous now. Outside, the wind howled like something laughing through broken teeth. I could feel it circling the cabin, waiting. I went to the corner and grabbed a stack of dusty firewood. Half of it was rotted, but I found one decent piece heavy enough to swing. I wasn't planning to fight. I was planning to finish what someone else had started. At the back of the room, past the collapsed cot, I noticed another hatch. Floorboards pulled back, nailed again. Someone had tried to seal something. I pried it open. Below, a second storage area. Cold air spilled up from it, the kind that didn't feel like it belonged in this world. Inside, more boxes, old military crates, metal, dented, lined with foam. I opened the first. Inside, a case file labeled Project SH4, Phase 2, Live Tracking. Below that, Polaroids, grainy, faces half lit, some with names written in Sharpie. All of them looked tired, hollow. Some of them looked like me. And at the bottom, a cassette tape. No label, just a strip of masking tape with a handwritten line. Don't listen if it knows you're listening. I held it in my hand for a long time. Then I set it down, and I walked outside, back into the storm. The rig was still there, half buried. Trailer tilted, cab covered in frost. But something else had changed. The side of the truck had fogged over, and written into that fog, like a finger had dragged it across the metal, was a phrase. 3 words, not mine, not Weatherly's, but something older, something hungry. You are ready. And underneath it, barely etched into the steel, a reflection, my face, smiling. But I wasn't. I didn't move at first. I stood there just staring at it. Those 3 words carved into the fog, clear and deliberate, like someone had written them just moments before I stepped out of that cabin. You are ready, not a question, not a warning, a statement, like a gate being opened, and underneath, my face, that damn reflection again, barely there, warped by the curve of the metal. But it was mine, and it wasn't, my smile too wide, my eyes too still. I stepped forward slowly, boots crunching over the snow, reached out and wiped the fog away. The metal surface went dull. No more face, but I still felt it watching me from somewhere close, too close. I climbed back into the cab, shut the door hard behind me. My breath fogged the inside of the windshield instantly. It was colder now, like the truck itself had dropped 10 degrees while I was gone. I sat there gripping the wheel, trying to get my thoughts to line up. They wouldn't, they just slipped. Names, places, dates, like sand through a sieve. But that one line in the logbook kept coming back, over and over, like a drumbeat in the back of my skull. SH4 must be sealed. No more riders, no more primes. Primes. What the hell did that mean? I turned around and looked at the trailer. It had been locked the whole trip. Sealed. No identifying markings, no paperwork. Just a QR code I scanned when I picked it up. A job with no questions asked. But I had questions now. I climbed out, forced the cargo doors open. Hinges groaned under the weight of ice. Inside, cold, dark, and quiet. I stepped in. A few small crates bolted to the floor. A metal case in the center, shaped like a coffin. No latches, no buttons, just a slot, like it needed something to unlock it. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out my dog tags. Thought maybe some part of me already knew how this worked. No response. I stepped closer, leaned in. That's when I noticed it. A faint pulse. Not light, not sound, but a low-frequency vibration, like something breathing from inside the case. Not fast, not human. I dropped to one knee and looked closer. There was writing on the base, faded, scratched. Not a serial number, a name. Project SH4, Bait Unit 3 Prime. I stared at it for a long time. Then the words finally clicked. Not cargo, not delivery. I was the delivery. The whole trip, the message, the route, the container. It wasn't about bringing something to safety. It was about bringing something out. I staggered backward, slipped on the ice, caught myself on the edge of the door. My brain kept looping the phrase over and over. Bait Unit Prime, you are ready. I slammed the doors shut, locked them. Not that it would matter now. I ran to the cab, climbed in, started tearing through the glove compartment, the center console, the side storage, looking for anything that might explain more. That's when I found the envelope, tucked behind the passenger seat, wedged between the cushions like someone had hidden it, or maybe placed it for when I needed to find it. I opened it with numb fingers. Inside, a printed dossier, pages thin as rice paper, all stamped with the same logo I'd seen in the cabin. SH4, Observation and Recovery. Page 1, subject file, call sign, Ridgewalker. Full name, Michael Thomas Ridgewalker, Dobb, 02-19-1971. Military service, confirmed psychological profile, stable, disciplined, low emotional volatility. Risk level, acceptable usage classification. Prime page 2, mission designation. Objective prime entity engagement via indirect exposure. Route SH4, deploy carrier with pre-installed lure. Monitor response. Lure, was that me? Was I the lure or the carrier? Page 3, containment protocol. In event of full exposure, Prime may become compromised. Termination preferable to capture. SH4 must not extend beyond active corridor. Mirrors, voices, and memory anchoring are to be avoided post-engagement. I dropped the folder, shoved the papers off my lap like they were poison. My breath came fast now. Panicked, hot. I was being used. All of this, the snow, the mirrors, the loops, it was part of something bigger, something built. Not supernatural, constructed, an experiment, and I was the lab rat. That's when the cab light flickered. I froze. Then the radio, the dead CB I'd thrown under the seat, crackled once, just static. Then a voice. Mine.
Michael, you made it further than the others.
I reached down slowly, pulled the mic cord. It wasn't plugged in. Didn't matter. The voice kept going.
You were chosen. You were designed. You're the perfect shape. And you've brought it here. Perfectly.
Another breath.
Now, we see what remembers you.
I grabbed the radio unit and hurled it through the windshield. Glass shattered. Cold wind rushed in. And for a moment, just a second, I saw it, standing in the trees across the road. Tall, still, shifting, like something trying to finish becoming me. I hit the ignition. The engine coughed, roared. I floored it. The rig lurched forward, tires spinning, trailer groaning behind me. I didn't know where I was going anymore. There was no route, no signal, no mission. Just one idea. If I was sent here to open a door, I had to find a way to slam it shut before it finished stepping through. The road, if you could still call it that, was more like a tunnel now. Not in the way tunnels are built, but in the way the trees had folded over it, enclosing me in a corridor of black pine and falling snow. The headlights barely pushed forward anymore. All they did was light up the haze, catching flakes like ash in a beam of flame. And the sound, it had changed. There was something pulsing behind the engine hum, something slow and wet, a thud, then another, like a heartbeat, not mechanical, not synced with the truck, independent, alive. I thought it was in my head at first, until I realized it was coming from the trailer. The container was beating, not fast, not loud, but steady. Thump, there's pause. Thump. I gripped the wheel tighter, fighting the urge to look in the rearview mirror, which was still covered, thank God. But I didn't need to see it. I could feel it. That rhythm, that slow, patient cadence, like something inside the metal shell had finally woken up and was waiting. The CB was gone. The windshield cracked wide open, but sound had found other ways in. The speakers, the ones that hadn't worked for hours, they hissed, then clicked. Then a voice, my voice, but not from me.
You brought it this far, Michael. That was always the plan.
I didn't respond, didn't speak. My lips were pressed tight, jaw locked.
You were good at following orders. That's why they picked you. Not for your strength, not for your service. For your obedience.
The tone shifted, just slightly, more casual now, familiar.
They knew you'd drive into the dark, even without asking why. And here you are, almost to the end.
I reached down and yanked the audio wires free. Silence, good. But then I heard it again. Not through the speakers this time, through the floor. Voices, low, garbled, like whispers rising from the engine block. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all layered, like they were stacked in a hallway too narrow, all trying to speak at once. Most were incoherent, but some were clearer than others.
Don't say it. Don't echo. No more riders. No more.
I hit the brakes. Hard. The truck slid slightly, ABS clicking once, tires carving into the packed snow until the whole thing groaned to a stop. I sat in the dark for a long time, breathing, listening. And then I stepped out. No flashlight, no plan, just instinct. I walked to the back of the rig. The snow had piled high against the trailer doors. I brushed it away with my gloved arm, cleared the locks, and paused with my hand on the latch. The heartbeat was louder now. Thump, thump. I opened the doors, slowly. The container stood there, exactly as before. Silent, sealed, gray metal with black, reinforced edges. But the air was wrong, warm. Not like the cabin, like something inside had changed the temperature. And from the crack at its base, condensation, steam rising slow. I climbed in, closed the doors behind me. It was like stepping into a stomach. The sound wasn't just heartbeat anymore. There were words now, inside the beat, a rhythm like syllables. I pressed a hand to the container wall. It shivered under my touch. Then, something spoke, but not to me, not at me. It spoke me. Every word I'd said in the last 48 hours, played back, distorted, slow, stretched, like a tape unraveling.
I don't scare easy. Breaker 19. This is Ridgewalker. You ever have that feeling?
Over and over, out of order, like it was trying to reconstruct me phrase by phrase. Then I heard a new voice, a woman, soft, familiar.
Michael, you promised me. You said no more mountains.
Rebecca, that was her name. God, Rebecca. I collapsed against the side wall of the trailer, heart pounding. It wasn't just mimicking now, it was remembering, not just me. But what I'd forgotten, everything I'd buried, everything it had taken. That's what it did. It didn't eat you like an animal. It didn't tear you apart. It unraveled you, pulled the threads of who you were, your voice, your name, your memories, and rewrote them. So when it wore your skin, no one could tell the difference. I stood. I knew what had to be done. I pulled my coat tight, stepped forward, and reached for the container. The heartbeat stopped. Silence. For one long second, everything went still. Then, the locks disengaged by themselves. The lid creaked open. Inside, empty, except for one thing. A mirror. Not handheld, not glass, not sharp. It was fogged over, but something about it reflected light that wasn't there. Like it caught images from somewhere else, somewhere deeper. I stepped closer, and there I was again, smiling. The other me reached out, pressed his hand to the glass, and I felt it on my chest. Pressure, contact, like I was touching myself from the outside in. I took a breath, then I screamed, swung my arm forward, brought it down hard, elbow first, shattering the reflective surface. The sound it made wasn't glass, it was bone. And from behind the container wall, something hissed. I stumbled out of the trailer, fell into the snow, rolled and gasped and crawled like a man crawling out of his own grave. The lights of the truck flickered behind me. Not white anymore. Red. Pulsing. In time with my heart. No. In time with its... I didn't run. Not yet. I stood in the cold, raised my voice, hoarse, cracking, and whispered one thing.
I'm not yours.
The wind answered back.
Not yet.
It was inside me, not physically, not like some parasite crawling under skin or something out of a movie. No, this was worse. It didn't invade. It substituted, quietly, carefully, word by word. The second I said, "I'm not yours," out loud, something shifted, something deep. I could feel it, a seam in the world, like the fabric of myself had stretched too far. And now the stitching was coming loose. The heartbeat was gone, but the rhythm was still there. Only now it was mine. The truck hummed behind me, not idle, not angry, just waiting. Like a dog that doesn't need to bark anymore because it knows you're coming home eventually. I stood in the snow, breathing hard, trying to remember who I was. Anchor yourself, I thought. Name, rank, serial number, childhood memory, anything. My name is Michael Thomas Ridgewalker, born February 19th, 1971. I was stationed at Fort Irwin. I had a wife, Rebecca. We lived near Spokane for a time. She liked bluegrass. I hated it. We laughed about that. Or maybe she laughed and I pretended. I had a scar above my right brow. Got it when I fell from the tailgate of a supply truck. Or was it my left? I reached up. My fingers touched skin, smooth, no scar. I staggered backward like I'd just been punched. Fell onto one knee in the snow, gasping. Something wasn't right. I clawed at the side of my face, not out of pain, out of need. I needed to feel the scar, the proof, the memory. But there was nothing. No raised line. No story, just absence. I stood, stumbling toward the driver's side of the rig. The mirror was still covered. I ripped the cloth away. I had to see. I had to. The man in the mirror wasn't me. He looked like me, sure. Same nose, same eyes, same jaw. But the expression, it wasn't mine. He was smiling. Just a little, but not happy, not triumphant, relieved, like he'd finally gotten in. I backed away, heart thundering, and that's when I heard the sound. Footsteps, not loud, but unmistakable. Snow being parted. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause, coming from behind the truck. I turned, slow. There he was, standing beside the trailer. Same height, same coat, same boots. Me, but not me. The thing tilted its head, didn't speak, didn't move, just watched. I blinked, and he was gone. Just gone. Like the frame skipped. I ran for the truck door, threw myself inside, locked it behind me. The lights on the dash flickered once. Then everything went dark. I hit the ignition. Nothing. No engine. No click. Dead. I turned to the passenger seat. The notebook still there. My notes, my handwriting. But the last page had changed. Someone had written something new. Not in my hand. It knows you now. I dropped it, pushed myself back behind the wheel and slammed my fist into the dash. "What do you want?" I screamed. The cab echoed, then answered, not with words, with my voice, played through the empty radio speaker. "You!" A single word, then silence. I grabbed my phone, useless, no signal, battery dead. But the screen flickered, just once, and for a moment I saw a photo. Me and Rebecca, a picnic table, early summer. I remembered that day, I think, but in the photo, her face was wrong, smudged, like someone had tried to erase her smile. I blinked. The image vanished. The screen went black again. I stared at my reflection in the glass. Not the mirror now, but the windshield. My face shimmered, and then I saw it again, that second me. Standing in the forest line now, no motion, no threat, just watching. Like he was waiting for me to give in. I turned away, looked at my hands. My fingernails were darker than they should have been, faint lines forming across the palms. Not cuts, not scars. Mirrors. Tiny silver slivers just beneath the skin. I was being overwritten, and I knew it. I opened the door and stepped back out into the snow. I couldn't stay inside anymore. The cab was a coffin. The air was thick, windless. I took one last look at the trailer, and then I walked around to the back, opened the doors. The container was gone. No heartbeat, no fog, no mirror, just an empty space, and in the center, me, standing there. But it wasn't me, not anymore. It smiled, just barely, then lifted one hand and held up a new mirror. This one was different. It wasn't glass, it was liquid, like a surface waiting to ripple. The thing stepped back into it, melted, dissolved, gone, and I was left alone. Only I wasn't sure I was really me anymore, because behind me, I felt it, a breath on my neck. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because if I looked, if I reflected, that would be the end. And something told me, the real Michael Ridgewalker already had. The rig groaned beneath me as I forced it forward. Wheels grinding over packed ice, chains biting through snow that had lost all sound. The storm hadn't let up, but it didn't howl anymore. It just pressed in, thick and heavy, like the sky had dropped too low and was smothering the world in white. This wasn't a road anymore. It was a memory, or maybe the last stretch of one. And if I didn't get through it, I knew what would happen. I wouldn't die. Not the way people think of dying. I'd vanish, not into a grave, but into reflection. Erased, rewritten, replaced. Another face behind the fog. I had maybe 5 miles left. That's what I told myself. Just 5 miles to the top of the pass. Just 5 miles to out. I couldn't trust my eyes anymore. Not the windshield, not the mirrors, not even my own damn hands. My skin was changing. I could see it now in the edges of my vision, a subtle shimmer, like it was learning to reflect. So I made a choice. I reached up, and I closed my eyes. The engine grumbled low. I shifted into first gear, let off the brake. The rig started crawling forward, blind. It was insane, but it was the only move I had left. I drove by sound, by weight, by feel. The pitch of snow under the tires, the slight lean of the trailer on tight curves, the whisper of the wind across the cab. Every few seconds, I'd whisper something to myself, just to stay anchored. My name is Michael Ridgewalker. My name is Michael Ridgewalker. Over and over, like a prayer. Then the cab creaked. No, shifted. Weight changed, like something had entered. I didn't open my eyes, not even when I felt it settle into the passenger seat. The cushion compressed, quiet, intentional. I didn't speak, didn't breathe hard, just kept driving, kept repeating. My name is Michael Ridgewalker. My name is Michael Ridgewalker. The air inside the cab grew warmer, not comforting, wrong. Too warm, too wet, like a mouth breathing against my cheek. Then a voice, not loud, not threatening, soft.
Then why don't I see you?
I said nothing, fought the urge to turn my head, because I knew what was sitting there, and it wore my face. I kept going. I felt the road climb, elevation shifting, the trailer straining against gravity. We were near the top now. I whispered again, hoarse, cracked. My name is Michael Ridgewalker. The thing beside me chuckled, quiet, low.
You keep saying that like it means something.
I clenched the wheel, focused on the rhythm, the bumps in the road, the way the snow hissed beneath the tires. Then it spoke again.
Do you remember her name?
That one hit like a punch. I blinked, once, nearly opened my eyes. Rebecca, that was her name, wasn't it? The thing beside me leaned in. I could feel it, inches away.
You forgot her, we didn't.
I swallowed hard. My name is Michael Ridgewalker.
Then say her name.
I know who I am.
No, Michael. You know who I were.
The road leveled out. I felt it. The pitch changed. The pressure in my ears shifted. We were at the top. I reached into my pocket with one hand, pulled out the last sticky note I had. Fingers trembling, I pressed it to the dash. Didn't need to see it, just needed to feel it there. The wind picked up again, loud now, howling, angry. The weight in the passenger seat shifted. Something moved. Closer. I gritted my teeth, took one long, slow breath, and whispered through cracked lips, I'm not seeing. The thing hissed. I'm not listening. The cab trembled. You can't have me. Silence. Then, it was gone. No footsteps, no scream, no slam of a door, just gone. The air turned cold again. The pressure lifted, and I opened my eyes. Light. Real light. The snow was thinning. The clouds above were breaking open. Just ahead, the road curved down. Wide open, sunlit. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. The rig rolled forward, engine humming, trailer groaning, tires carving the first clean tracks in untouched snow. And behind me, nothing. Not a shadow, not a sound, not a reflection. Just the empty road and the mountain, finally letting go. The transition happened so gradually, I almost didn't notice it. First, the wind dropped, not just in force, but in tone. The howling stopped. The air felt lighter. The sky, still choked with clouds, began to bleed in color again. A soft blue-gray glow, warming the edges of the storm. Then the snow softened, Not gone, not yet, but gentler now. Less like a force, more like weather. The kind you could drive through without thinking about what it meant. And finally, the road widened. Guardrails returned. Pavement showed through the white. Cracks, signs, reflectors, mile markers. I passed one, crooked but standing. MP 212. Back on the grid, back on the map. I drove another mile before I even let myself breathe again. Then another before I risked turning on the radio. Just static at first. Then, a pop, a crackle, music. A cheap country ballad I didn't recognize. But it was music. Broadcast from somewhere that existed. And then a voice. Not mine. Not twisted or mirrored or pulled from my own lungs. Just a guy on a local channel doing the weather. Light snow through the afternoon. Roads icy up past Devil's Pass, but clear on the west side. No closures reported as of 6:30. I let my head fall against the backrest. Closed my eyes, just for a second. Then I pulled into the first rest stop I saw. Small place, couple pumps, old vending machines, maybe 3 parking spots for rigs. No one else there, just quiet, sun cutting through the clouds in thin streaks. I turned off the engine, sat in silence. The windshield was fogged, but not from breath. Not from anything, just normal, natural. I left it that way. Didn't want to see anything reflected. Didn't want to check. Didn't want to know. I climbed out. My legs were numb, like I hadn't used them in years. The air was sharp but clean, real. The station had a small shop. Coffee machine, dusty racks of chips and hand warmers, a few tired-looking staffers behind the counter. They didn't look at me twice. One of them, girl, early 20s, red hoodie, glanced up and smiled. "Rough stretch?" I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "You could say that." She pointed at the mountains behind me. "They're weird up there sometimes. GPS always goes weird through the old routes." "Yeah," I muttered. Weird's one word. I poured myself a coffee. Black. Burned. Perfect. As I reached for the lid, I saw the sticker on the counter. A faded list of trucking associations, names, call signs. Most of them were familiar. One of them stopped me cold. Ridgewalker, retired scratched over. Marker line through it. I blinked. "You know this guy?" I asked, pointing. The girl behind the counter shook her head. "Nah, that's old. Most of those tags are from, like, a decade ago. Some of them aren't even real, just nicknames from that creepy story forum. You know, the urban legend trucker crowd?" I didn't answer. She laughed awkwardly. "You okay, man?" I just smiled, paid in cash. Walked back outside, sipping coffee, hands trembling slightly. I sat on the edge of the loading dock, let the sun warm my face, and for a second, just a second, I looked into the passenger side mirror, and I saw nothing. Not nothing like it was too dark or the angle was wrong, nothing. No reflection, no me, just emptiness, a blank polished shape, clean and cold. I reached into my coat, pulled out the notebook, pages warped from snow, ink blurred, but still legible. On the last page I wrote, "If I'm gone, don't send another." Underlined it. Then below it, in bigger letters, N and SH4. I tore the page out, folded it, walked back into the store, and handed it to the girl behind the counter. She raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "Just something I needed to leave somewhere." She smiled politely. "Sure." She tucked it under the counter. That was enough. I didn't look back, didn't check the mirror, didn't say my name out loud. I just got in the rig, turned the engine over, and drove west toward the sun. It started with a voice, soft, static-wrapped, coming through a CB radio that hadn't been powered on in years. The trucker who heard it, mid-30s going by the handle Blue Jay, was rolling through the eastern edge of the Cascades just before midnight. Long haul heading for the coast. Road was empty, save for the hum of tires and the low drone of country talk radio in the background. Then the music cut out. Just a flicker, and in its place, a single transmission, crackling, garbled, a little distorted, like it had been bouncing off towers too long, but unmistakably human. A man's voice, low, calm, measured. Since that night, I never took another cargo without a name. Never again. Not at night. Not off the map. Then silence. Blue Jay blinked, reached for the knob. Nothing on any channel. No station ID, no follow-up, just dead air. He leaned forward, checked the mirror. Nothing unusual. Just snow, trees, dark. But he couldn't shake the voice, the tone, the truth in it. He flipped open his logbook and scribbled a note to himself. Check old Cascades route, possible ghost frequency? Then he wrote something else, not sure why. Ridgewalker. Didn't know where he'd heard it, didn't know if he'd heard it, but it felt familiar. Later that night, in the quiet of a truck stop outside Olympia, he played back his dash recorder. The transmission wasn't there, not even a flicker, just clean, uninterrupted static. But the notebook still had the name, still had the time, still had the words. The next night, another driver, a woman named Carla, caught the same frequency just outside Yakima. She said it wasn't words that came through, but breath. Familiar, like someone standing right behind her in the cab. She didn't tell anyone right away, not until she found herself whispering a name in her sleep she didn't remember knowing. Michael Ridgewalker. That's how it begins now. Not with sightings, not with footsteps, with echoes, of voices, of choices. Of people who went too far into places they weren't meant to find, and came back with silence where their names used to be. The SH4 route never reopened. Officially, it doesn't exist, but some GPS units, the old ones, still list it, still guide drivers through that stretch of forest no one patrols, no one clears, no one remembers, until they do, until the whisper comes back, just 3 words, soft, patient, kind. You are ready. And if you hear that, God help you, because that means something's already stepped through, and it's looking for a face. I've been driving longer than I can remember now, sometimes west, sometimes east. I don't take jobs with sealed containers. I don't drive at night without mirrors covered. And I never, not once, follow a road that isn't on the map. Because once you've heard your own voice spoken back to you from somewhere behind the glass, you understand something real quick. Reflection isn't just a trick of light, it's a doorway. And some doors, you never close once they're open.